I believe that Bitcoin should not hard fork to increase the block size. How about that? Because it will turn into two different Bitcoin, and it will create panic and confusion, and people who are on the sidelines will be like, what Bitcoin do I want to get it?
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to CrushTheStreet.com. I have on the line Adam Meister, also known as the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister, and you can find him on YouTube. He's here for an update on Bitcoin, and maybe we'll talk about some other alternative digital currencies today. Adam, thanks for coming on the line with me.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show today. It was great last time. I'm looking forward to an awesome show today.
Adam, Bitcoin is approaching another all-time high, currently sitting at $1,100 a coin, $1,100 a coin. Would this mean if we break the high, now we're in uncharted territory with a potential skyrocket much higher? What does this mean to you?
Oh, it's great. It's a great positive vibe. People won't be screaming about China anymore. It'll get back into the mainstream media. More people will learn about it that don't know about it. So I think it's great. I think it's really possible now that it will hit an all-time high soon enough. I mean, it just hit 1,100 today, so that's great. Hey, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Being over $1,000 for 3 weeks in this year is quite amazing, because before December of last year, it had only been over $800 for less than 3 weeks in its entire existence. So we're in a new realm of Bitcoin now.
Sure. And something that also should be noted is that the dollar index is up today simultaneously with Bitcoin. So this tells me Bitcoin is truly getting more valuable and not just retaining purchasing power against the dollar, like so many people buy gold because it falls in relation to the dollar or goes up in relation to the dollar, depending on what the dollar does. But Bitcoin is actually up in the same day as the dollar getting stronger, which is a testament to what it's doing.
Oh yeah, I think it's an independent of all of those things. It's a completely new asset class that doesn't, gold going up, does that mean Bitcoin goes up? Who knows? It does its own thing, and it doesn't have to worry about the dollar and the stock market and gold. All these other things you use as hedges, or one balances out the other. This thing is on its own. It's uncharted territory, and it's just amazing technology, and we're just learning what this really is. It's very powerful stuff.
Adam, the GBTC stock price is actually finally under the Bitcoin spot. And it used to be the opposite. And some are saying that this is signaling the Winklevoss Bitcoin ETF will be passed coming up here. And do you see this ETF passing come March 11th when the SEC is supposed to make their decision?
I try not to get my hopes up because I feel that if it is passed, it's going to be huge for the Bitcoin price. There are a lot of people on the sidelines now who are into traditional investments who don't want to buy Bitcoin on their own. It's hard to store. They don't know how to buy it. They don't exactly understand what it is, but they know it's a new investment class that they're interested in. So if there is an ETF that just does all the work for them, all they do is just buy the ETF in the traditional method that they buy other ETFs, then they're going to jump into it, and it should really help Bitcoin out. The problem though is that I don't think the SEC is going to approve it. I think there are some issues they're going to have. They've been delaying it. I mean, they're not supposed to delay it again, but the government can do whatever they want. I don't think on March 11th or in March, whatever day it's going to be, they're going to approve it, and most likely they're going to reject it probably this time around. Maybe they'll just delay it again, but I don't want to get people's hopes up. There's some technicalities behind it. The safety of it. They're going to work. It's new to them. It's new to them. If they do approve it, it will open the door for a lot of other ETFs, though, and a lot of money flowing into Bitcoin. So, since I have Bitcoin, I hope they approve it, but I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't think they're going to approve it.
Adam, does Bitcoin need a bigger block size, or will it grow irrelevant of new developments in this aspect of the software?
I believe that Bitcoin should not hard fork to increase the block size. How about that? Because it will turn into two different Bitcoin, and it will create panic and confusion, and people who are on the sidelines will be like, what Bitcoin do I want to get in? Again, we have to realize in the Bitcoin world that we're living in a little bubble. People don't even understand what block size is and what outside of our bubble or know about hard forks. And if they hear of some major issue with Bitcoin, not really fully understanding it, they're not going to want to be a part of it. The price will drop. But with all that being said, I believe in segregated witness, which is a solution to the current issues that are going on. They call it SegWit. It's been tested. It does not involve a hard fork, and it involves the miners all running a certain software, but making a change. So it's hard to implement this segregated witness thing. It's going to take 95% of the miners out there to approve it. So it could take a while, and there's a very vocal group of people who want to just have a hard fork to increase the block size. So it's going to be a battle, but there's an altcoin called Litecoin out there, and an altcoin is just another cryptocurrency, and Litecoin they're trying to implement SegWit with them, and if it gets implemented there, I believe that and it's successful, people will be more likely, there'll be more pressure on people in Bitcoin to say, you know what, let's do this. At the same time, if nothing ever changes with the block size and the segregated witness, if Bitcoin just stays the same, I think, people using it to buy coffee is probably not going to be very common, because the transaction cost, the miners' fees will go up. Right now, they're around like 16 cents. When you send Bitcoin to another person, no matter how large the amount of Bitcoin you send, it's around 16 cents, 20 cents. I don't even pay attention, 10 cents. But if the blocks become very crowded and everything, it will go up to like $1 maybe, or who knows what it could go up to. And it won't be worthwhile to make small transactions with it. But it will still serve as a store of value, as a way to send money across borders. I mean, we have a lot of financial problems in this world that Bitcoin solves. And, getting coffee at Starbucks isn't the most, it's not the most pressing issue in the world. But again, let's see what happens here. Bitcoin will survive. And I think it's important to note that it is really hard to change Bitcoin. 95% approval. I mean, this is so that's a good thing. That's a strength of Bitcoin.
Sure, and I appreciate that analysis there. For fun, Adam, before we talk about some of the alternative currencies, if identity of Bitcoin's creator Satoshi Nakamoto were revealed, would that be a good or bad thing for Bitcoin adoption in general, in your opinion?
Well, there's two different ways of looking at it. I'm sure it would make a lot of people more comfortable with Bitcoin. Like, oh, I can point to that guy now. That's the founder. It's not some mystery group or CIA or just it would get rid of a lot of conspiracies, and just make regular people more comfortable, because you like to know who's behind your money, I guess. But at the same time, if he was identified, he could be arrested eventually, that could be bad. He could be blackmailed and people could find out about it. That could be bad. So in the long run, for mass adoption, I think him staying anonymous is going to be good. It'll be the best, because if he's revealed, it just leads to down the road of all sorts of other problems we can't really think of that might discourage people from adoption.
Adam, so one of my recent guests were on the show. We talked about Dash, and Dash is super hot right now. It is one that has risen over 100% in 2 months alone. The market cap is 150 million, approaching Litecoin's market cap of 190 million. What are your initial thoughts on this currency?
I think it's important for me to say that I tell people just buy and hold Bitcoin. Buy and hold Bitcoin. These other altcoins, they come and they go. Now, Dash and Litecoin, though, they have been around for a while, and I admire what Dash is doing. They're very savvy marketers. They're reaching out to the mainstream, to people who are not comfortable with cryptocurrency. And I think in the cryptocurrency space, there is not enough reach out or marketing to people who have not adopted cryptocurrency, to the regular world. So few people know about cryptocurrency. So, Amanda Johnson being on your show was a great move. Amanda Johnson speaking at an upcoming convention is a great move. So I think part of the reason Dash's price goes up is because people hear about it through marketing. They're impressed with marketing and they buy some. So, Dash, it can be anonymous. It can't be anonymous. I admire them for setting a great example of marketing. And I think people in Bitcoin should learn from that and try to. They have a completely different setup at Dash where they can pay someone to be their marketer. And I don't fully understand how they even do that. It's complex to explain. Bitcoin, obviously, it would take people to step up. And I feel like I'm a person who's stepping up to the plate and just trying to spread the word about Bitcoin and being a marketer. So if you're a marketing person, this space needs you. This space needs you. And Dash is the example that proves to the world, it's price spiking, that marketing works. And, a bunch of tech guys speaking tech mumbo jumbo to one another scares away people. It doesn't make your 60-year-old mother want to be involved in this at all. Mm-hmm. But when marketing is good. That's what I've learned from Dash. In terms of Litecoin, we can. I don't want to ramble on too much here. I mean, we could talk about the segregated witness. I mean, do you have a specific thing you want me to mention with Litecoin or anything like that? I mean,
one of the things I wanted to ask you about Dash, and that kind of goes back to, I guess, Satoshi Nakamoto being exposed. And that is, Bitcoin is very decentralized. It's like nobody really has a control over it, but Dash, in a sense, is very centralized. And my thoughts are, and I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but it seems like it's more vulnerable to corruption. And that's what people are concerned about in currencies in general. That's what's wrong with the US dollar and fiat currencies. And that's what people love about gold and Bitcoin. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think Dash is decentralized, but there are rumors that a lot of people control a lot of it. So no, it's not. Bitcoin is better in that, in my opinion. And again, I tell people to buy Bitcoin anyway. In terms of decentralization, are they on purpose trying to go backwards, or toward the fiat? No, they're not trying to. I don't think there's anything sinister or anything behind Dash, but the thing that Dash brings to the table is that it can be more anonymous than Bitcoin, and I think that intrigues a lot of technologically inclined people, or people that are just into anonymity, being anonymous.
Sure.
I can't even say the word.
That's a tongue twister. All right, so let's talk about Litecoin here and segregated witness. And you already mentioned it. We could be seeing Litecoin implement SegWit, which could potentially be a great catalyst for the price of Litecoin. And if you go back a couple years, Litecoin really was following the Bitcoin price. When Bitcoin would move up, Litecoin would follow it, and many were calling it the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Litecoin would be the silver, and Bitcoin would be gold. But we've seen a real disconnect from that in the last couple years. And I just want to get your thoughts on the future of Litecoin, and is the implementation of SegWit going to give it some more viability?
Well, yeah, Litecoin has definitely dropped in terms of its value in Bitcoin a lot in the last few years, because there are a lot of other altcoins that have come out that can do all sorts of fancy things, like Dash and Mannarino. Again, they're anonymous. Litecoin is just Bitcoin. That's all it is. It's a faster Bitcoin. So the way I see Litecoin being successful and surviving is being the test net for Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is having trouble approving a change, they should try it out on Litecoin first. And Litecoin has stepped up, and they are trying to implement this SegWit before Bitcoin does. And I do believe that it will help Litecoin's price if SegWit segregated witness is implemented on Litecoin. And I think it's going to happen. If it does not happen, I don't see what the point of Litecoin is anymore. I mean, if they don't do segregated witness, then they aren't a test net of Bitcoin. And being the test net of Bitcoin is just being the silver. I give them credit. I talked to Charlie Lee, who is the guy who founded Litecoin, and he's very willing to go in that direction. Push Litecoin in that direction as a test net for Bitcoin, as a place to test out new things on Bitcoin. And so it makes it a legitimate backup to Bitcoin, just in case something, God forbid, went horribly wrong with Bitcoin. You could start to use Litecoin instead. It would be a very easy transition, because it is just Bitcoin. But it has to have that appeal first. It has to establish itself as what does you can't just say it's the silver to Bitcoin's gold anymore. It has to present an example of why it's worthy of that. And if it does segregated witness, then I think that's a great example. Also with Litecoin, people have heard of it. I spoke to actually Doug Casey, and that was the only other coin he had heard of. He's like, I'm not sure why I've heard of it, but I've heard of this one called Litecoin. So they still do have an advantage in terms of name recognition, I think. They're traded on Chinese exchanges, so they could have that puts them at an advantage also in terms of adoption and real usage, because none of these altcoins are actually used for anything now. They're just traded. Even Litecoin, really. Bitcoin's the only cryptocurrency that's used for something, for a store of value, for buying stuff. But Litecoin has the ability to kind of bring it to the next level. Now, I'm not predicting some gigantic spike or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying throw all your Bitcoin into Litecoin, but I'm answering your question. I get there's a huge potential upside, a large potential upside, and I think that their community needs to market themselves better. And I give Charlie Lee a lot of credit for starting to do these interviews and just getting out there, because they have a bunch of technological people in their community. Again, they need marketing people. Hey, if you're someone who's interested in cryptocurrency, get involved in Litecoin and say, hey, learn about it, and say, hey, Litecoin Reddit, I'm going out there and I'm spreading the word about Litecoin. And I think you'll actually help Litecoin.
Sure. Adam, so having said that, what is your favorite alternative currency if you were to pick one?
Oh my God, my favorite one. Again, Bitcoin by far is what I believe in. Now, the ones that I like Ethereum Classic, because Ethereum was being hyped up for so long, and then it had a hard fork where it split. And we learned a lesson that that can be devastating, because the Ethereum was around $20 when this happened, and it was everyone could feel the momentum of how fast Ethereum was going. And then they had this hard fork, and it formed another coin. And who knows what the price of Ethereum could be right now? But the hard fork was formed on ideological grounds. Excuse me. Ethereum Classic was formed on ideological grounds. The hard fork happened because of an incident. The people at Ethereum were trying to correct something and I guess they corrected it, but it led to another coin being born. Anyway, the birth of Ethereum Classic is based on ideology. There's a lot of ideological people behind it. There's not one person you can point to who created it. It involves, it's kind of like the Ethereum for Bitcoin people. That's what it is. They stand for a lot of the things that Bitcoin people stood for originally. So I guess if I had to pick one on ideological grounds, it would be Ethereum Classic.
It really does seem like some of these alternative currencies are tests for Bitcoin, in that, just like you said with Ethereum there, we learned something from that. And maybe that is the purpose, and I'm just kind of getting that revelation now of a lot of these alternative digital currencies.
Oh, yeah. I think, a lot of people, Tone Vays, who's big in the Bitcoin space, he says all of them are just test nets for Bitcoin. All of them are just test nets for Bitcoin, because in the end of the day, Bitcoin could implement something on top of their blockchain that had the Mannarino anonymous aspects to it, let's say, or Bitcoin could adopt something that has the technological aspects of Ethereum or Ethereum Classic. So yeah, they're all. I think people are going to look back. I think by the year 2020, there are not going to be that many big altcoins left, and by like the year 2030, there'll be very specialized, maybe a few specialized ones left, and people are just going to look back at this era, like the .com era, in terms of these altcoins. Like, oh my God, some of them were such jokes. How did we? What was up with the Pets.com altcoin? We look back at the .com era now, we laugh at some of these companies that were around then. And I think in the long run, people are just going to laugh at some of the craziness we hear. The next, in the altcoin space, it's just like, what's the next hottest one? What's the next hottest one? And there's little backing them up. It's just a bunch of people flipping them back and forth. But of the top tier ones, again, Bitcoin can learn from them, definitely, and they can serve as test nets, because some people are doing creative new things with their altcoins, and they are innovative, and Bitcoin will be able to adopt the innovations that are worthy of adoption.
All great points. All I can say is, if Bitcoin really does go to $500,000 or $1 million, that alone would be reason for viable alternative currencies to rise up and be more than just tradable, speculative digital currencies. And that's just what happens in the free market, is something rises up and alternatives come and compete with it. And that I have to acknowledge that, and that Bitcoin isn't just going to be the top dog without any real competition forever.
Oh, that's the great thing about the free market and cryptocurrency, that it is a true free market. I think it's glorious that anyone can create their own altcoin. So yeah, they're going to keep on coming out with them, but I think the top tier ones, that'll become established, and it'll be very hard to join them unless you have something really technologically advanced. But that's great. I think that's awesome that the people that have the most technology, the most knowledge, they will rise to the top with their altcoins. They will rise to the top of the altcoin world, and Bitcoin can adopt what they bring to the table, or they can't, and maybe the new technology will be so great that they'll get close to Bitcoin. Or again, I don't think Bitcoin will ever be overtaken, but I'm just saying theoretically, I guess it could be overtaken. But again, the free market, that's what I love. People point to like Bitcoin, a weakness of Bitcoin, saying, well, if they can make 1 million cryptocurrencies, I think that's a positive. I think that's a positive space, because we're in a true free market. No one's stopping anyone from innovating or creating their own altcoin. Mm-hmm. It's up to the market to decide who's the winner.
Well, I love it. The Disrupt Meister, thanks for coming on the show with me. Adam, if you want to share any information, any new announcements regarding what you're doing, please take the floor and let everyone know what you're up to.
Well, okay, everyone can find me at disruptmeister.com. That'll take you to my YouTube channel where I do a Bitcoin video or a cryptocurrency video every day, at least one every day. We've started an interview series where we've been interviewing people from outside of the space, trying to get them into Bitcoin. Like I talked to Doug Casey about Bitcoin. I talked to Bill Still about Bitcoin. So you can find me, look up Bitcoin Meister on YouTube, or just go to disruptmeister.com. I also, a lot of people out there, a lot of your listeners are concerned about storage of Bitcoin. And I recommend that if you have more than 2 Bitcoins, or maybe even more than 1 Bitcoin, to buy something called a Bitcoin Trezor. It's an offline storage device. A lot of people, again, this space is not easy for non-tech people. So once they buy it, they have a hard time setting it up. I consult people with that. I walk people through the process. You can email me at adam@trezorhelp.com for more information about the Trezor. Or if you just want to talk about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or whatever, adam@trezorhelp.com.
Well, Adam, keep living the dream. I know you're in Portugal right now. Enjoy your time there, and I look forward to future conversations.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I had a great time today.